Welcome to this video, teaching pastors, campus pastors, service leaders, and anyone and everyone who is watching this video. I'm not sure who else would be watching this video. I don't suppose we're going to get as many hits as the Harlem Shake, but you never know. So anyway, today we're in Miracles Week 3, looking at Mark chapter 5, verse 24 through 34. We're looking at the story of the woman with a menstrual problem who had an issue of bleeding for 12 years. And the big idea of the sermon is that Jesus turns our shame into acceptance. And so we'll start off with the intro video. I don't exactly know what's going to be part of the intro video. It will certainly contain a summary of where we've gone so far, and it might include some little details to set up the story. But at some point, whether via video or live, we'll get to Mark chapter 5, verse 24. And at the beginning of the story, we find that there's a large crowd following Jesus and pressed around him. And what's happened is this story takes place in a series of 4 miracles that Jesus performs, starting in chapter 4 and going into chapter 5. And the miracles teach us a lot about Jesus and who he is. And he's just agreed to heal Jairus' daughter. Jairus was a rich, important guy, a synagogue ruler. And Jesus is going to heal his daughter, who's about to die, when this story happens and this woman interrupts him. And so we meet that there's a woman who had been the subject to bleeding for 12 years. She suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors. She spent all of her money getting better. And what we point out here is not only did she endure physical pain, but she endured social and spiritual pain as well. You see, in Jewish society, this woman was an outsider. Leviticus 15, 19 through 30 tells us about what happens when you have a long-term menstrual disorder. Anytime you have a bleeding issue, and you are considered unclean until it was healed. And this woman had this problem for 12 years. If you're interested a little more about this and why this was all why this was such a big deal, we have some more information in Digging Deeper this week. But basically, she couldn't worship at the temple, she couldn't join in on religious festivities, and anything and anyone she touched became unclean. And so she was supposed to stay away from people, she was supposed to stay away from the crowds. No wonder she spent all her money on doctors. She was an outsider. She had shame in her life. She was filled with shame because of her situation. And so we want to make the application that some of you here today are filled with shame. You feel shame, shame over your past, your bad choices, addictions, bad decisions, sins of the past, shame because of how your life has turned out. Maybe you feel on the margins of society, you feel like an outsider, and many of us carry around shame like the woman carried around her illness. And I have a story I might share there, the story of Dennis. Dennis, if you're listening to this, I apologize for using your story, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind. And I have multiple friends named Dennis, so if you're a friend of mine named Dennis and you're watching this, it's probably not you that I'm talking about. Okay, verses 27 to 28, it just goes on to tell the story about how she reached out, she touches Jesus, she's healed, and Jesus says, who touched me? And we'll get into all those details of the story, but for us, the big idea, Jesus turns our shame into acceptance. When he finds out who she is and what she has done and that she's healed, Jesus says to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Jesus doesn't condemn her, he doesn't humiliate her, he doesn't scold her. He says, your faith has healed you. Literally in Greek, your faith has saved you. And that's how we can think of this, how Jesus turns our shame into acceptance. He takes our sin, our regret, our bad choices. He doesn't say, don't worry about that stuff. He says that your faith has saved you. What he means is that, as you know, the gospel here, when you put your faith in Jesus, Jesus deals with our shame on the cross. And if we simply to trust in him like that woman did, if we believe that Jesus can save us and can rescue us because of who he is, we can be freed from our regret, our shame, our sins, our bad choices. This is Jesus' offer to us. He says, be at peace with your past, be free from your suffering and guilt, put your faith in him. And when you put your faith in Jesus, he accepts you. He doesn't say, hey, you're a sinner, you're a loser. He calls you a son or daughter. That's what he does to this woman. He calls her daughter. The only woman in the Gospels that Jesus refers to as daughter is this woman. So Jesus accepted that woman, and he went on, and that's what we want people to understand, that Jesus takes our shame, turns it into acceptance, and that's our sermon for the week.